classified as a first felony offender. Offense: manslaughter and attempted first-degree murder. Sentencing date: August 10th, 1999. Sentenced to a total of 40 years. Parole date: August 1st, 2021. Good time: September 2nd, 2031. Full term: June 29th, 2038. Is this information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Pearl.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Cornell. My name is Pearl Wise. I was assigned your case, so I'll do the first interview, and my colleagues may or may not have any questions. How's it going?
Outstanding. Good morning.
Good. You just had a birthday Sunday. Happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You have a very interesting life. You graduated high school in what year?
In 1992.
And you went to the Marines for how long?
4 years, ma'am.
From 92 to what? When did you get out?
1996.
1996. I'm just going to call out briefly for the record. You earned quite a few awards while you were in the military.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm curious to know why you didn't make it a career.
I felt that wasn't my life. I wanted to go to school and move on.
Okay.
And once I got out, I just fell off into other things.
Yeah, because I see you got the National Defense Service Medal. You got Meritorious Unit Commendation, Sea Service Deployment Ribbon, and Letters of Appreciation. You did well in the military.
Yes, ma'am.
And you got an honorable discharge as well. And you got married. What year did you get married?
94.
In 94. How long did that last?
About 2 years.
Okay. And in your criminal history, you had one arrest in 97, and that charge was refused for a drug charge. And then here we are today in 98.
Yes, ma'am.
You have a 50-year sentence. What do you say to that? How did that happen?
I quit believing in myself, and I started doing what was easy, just flowing with what was easy at my disposal. Just go to the streets, and I don't have any expectation on me, no responsibility. So just do what I want to do. That was basically my mindset.
Okay, all right. So of this 40-year sentence, how long, call out for the record how long you've served?
22 years.
You served 22 years, and you're 49 today.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's correct. Okay. You lost 60 days of good time, February 3rd of 2020. Tell us about that. What was that write-up about?
I was in the road crew. We go out and pick up trash in the community, and there's 10 guys that's on the crew with us, and one of the guys, younger guy, he was short to go home. He decided to he found some phones, broken phones on the side of the road, and he evidently he kept them and stashed them. They found some other things, drugs and pocket knife, charger, and they didn't know who it belonged to, so they gave the charge to everyone on the van, all 10 of us, and of course I was part of the crew. But at that time, I had a clemency in action. I had just started, and so that was what I was looking forward to. So I was walking a straight line. I really couldn't afford to do stuff like that.
Yeah, because I noticed in your disciplinary record prior to that, you hadn't had a write-up since 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was yeah. So that was okay. Okay, I read somewhere you said when you committed this offense, you had been off your medication for 2 years. Do you remember saying that?
No, ma'am. I'm not on any medication.
I'm talking about before you committed this, before you got involved in this offense, you were not on any kind of medication?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You never had any kind of mental health diagnosis?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure. You know, you have law enforcement opposition. There's nothing you can do about it, but I just want to make you aware of it. There is some law enforcement opposition to your early release. And you do have 375 days of programs. So you have tried to work on yourself. Tell me which programs meant the most to you. Just give me the top 3 that you've taken.
The going home, staying home, that was one. Of course, the anger management, because that plays a big role throughout my jokes and really helped me. But the one that really stood out the most was a church program called Best Dads. And I don't have any children. Hopefully I will one day, but I do have nieces and nephews. And that class showed me some things about myself that I really want the future generation to see in me. I hear stuff about the generations behind me that saw me while I was on the street and the memories they have of me, and I don't like those memories. I want to do better. I want the generation behind me, I want them to go forward and take full advantage of everything that's at their disposal.
Okay, good. Let's talk about your offense. What was your role in this crime?
Talking about the sentence, what I'm sentenced on for the 40 years? Okay, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Well, it was a robbery of a guy who had drugs. He had drugs and money, and our intentions was to jack him, take his money and his drugs, and it just didn't work out that way. He was really willing to die for his, and I wasn't really willing to go that far, but someone in the group was, and it was beyond me, and all I could do, I fled the scene because it went beyond what I was arrogant to believe that I could mouthpiece him into, hey, here, take it, everything, just go. But it wasn't that way. This man was really willing to die for his, and I wasn't willing to go that far. He didn't fall for the poker face, and I fled the scene. It got hectic, and we got to, and I just fled the scene.
The interesting thing was that no drugs was found, mentioned in the reports that we got that he had drugs at that house.
Well, they said there were, that there were, some said that there wasn't. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. We never know. But the fact that you know that this was planned, I mean, that sounded kind of right to you on that day to go do that.
I was taking a chance. I was young, living on the edge, and just like I told you earlier, doing what I wanted to do that I thought I could get away with. I was arrogant. I feel like I look back and I believe that I put too much confidence in myself to do the wrong things rather than doing the right things. Instead of going to school, like I went to the Marine Corps for, so I can get out and go to school, I put my confidence in doing things, you know, that we shouldn't do. Yes,
you did. Yes, you did. So, do you know? Are you aware of the laws?
Yes, ma'am.
And the young lady was pregnant.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Speak to the victims now. What do you say to all of this?
Well, what I was a part of.
But talk to me though. Talk to me. Talking to me. If you had the opportunity to talk to the victims, what would you say?
I don't believe an apology would suffice, but I would just express to them that how embarrassed and how appalled I am at myself for my past. That I allowed myself to fall into that mindset, and I regret it. And like I said, I don't believe an apology would help, but I would let them know that I do regret, and I am sorry for what I caused.
All right, thank you. So what do you do every day now at the prison? What's your job?
Well, right now I work in a grass crew, and we cut grass in the compound, in the perimeter fence, and I really wanted to be active, but I wanted to be active in a way where there could be supervision. That way I don't have to worry about ducking landmines and, you know, others that want to violate, and I don't want to violate. So we have a supervisor with us. I feel like that was the safest route to go.
Okay. And now what is your trustee status?
I'm no longer a trustee, I'm just a regular inmate staff.
Okay, when were you a trustee? When was that?
That was last year for like maybe 9 months.
Okay. So what reduced you on that status?
Excuse me?
So what happened? You lost your trustee status. What happened?
That was part of one of the sanctions they enacted for the rule number 1 violation.
I got you. Okay, that's what I thought, but I wanted to be sure. All right, thank you. Warden, what can you share with us about Mr. Bush?
Yes, Mr. Wise, he's been with us since 2010. As you can see from he had a couple problems when he first got here, a couple write-ups, but then he went 5 years without a write-up from 2010 to 2015. And then, as you noted earlier, 2015 to 2020, he didn't have a report until that contraband. That was in fact an incident on a road crew, him and several other offenders. And you know, it's one of those you are your brother's keeper's lessons to learn. He got caught up in, but he's taking a lot of good programming. He has a good attitude. I'm glad to see that he's accomplished a lot of things since his time incarcerated. And I have some positive comments for him.
All right, thank you, Warden. Chairman, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Now we'll hear from Ms. Chantel.
Hello.
Okay, go ahead. Brief
Yeah.
statement.
My name is Chantel Bariste. I'm Cornell's sister, and I just wanted to say that my relationship with Cornell has been very positive. I do believe that he has been rehabilitated. I do believe that he's empathetic about the situation and what happened. And we're a close-knit family. We speak all the time, like what he was mentioning about like the Fathers Program. I have 2 daughters, 5 and 3, and they talk all day. He's always speaking life into them. He speaks life into me. He's positive. Even being incarcerated, he wants to make sure everything is going well within our household. He's always asking how we're doing, and just really positive for the circumstances that he's in. And I do believe that he's changed. I do believe that he wants to do better. He talks about his future all the time, about how what we're gonna do when, he's hopeful, what we're gonna do one day when he is out, being with the family. And his overall, I just would like to he's positive. He's positive, and that's what I wanted to say about it. I just, what I take from him is encouragement.
Okay, thank you, yes, ma'am. We'll hear from Mr. Christopher Bush now.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak on behalf of my brother, Cornell Bush. And my name is Christopher Bush, the younger brother of Cornell Bush. I'm a graduate of Tulane University. I'm joined here with my wife, Mary Bush. We have 3 children, and I work as a healthcare consultant with local and regional hospitals. And so, as far as my brother goes, he's missed a significant amount of time. I do believe he's very apologetic. I do believe he's very remorseful. We continuously have consistent weekly contact through phone conversation, as well as JPay and letters. And so my hope and my prayer is that Cornell would be released to be back with his family. He has a significant amount of potential to speak to both imprisoned as well as free individuals. And so my hope is that he is released to join the family. Like I said, I think he's taken full responsibility for his actions. And his activity while being in prison has kind of shown that. And so he's demonstrated just great character, a lot of character that I believe most Americans would want to really demonstrate, just having a level of integrity, owning up for things that he's done, being remorseful, responsible, respectful. And so I believe those are just values that most American citizens would want to have, right? And so I do believe that his story is very unique, but I think it's a story that would keep communities united with some of the real and active issues that we deal with in our communities. So I believe that he's been rehabilitated. I believe that he's been a standing role model while he's been incarcerated in this difficult situation, getting his bachelor's degree and other technical certifications. He's taken a substantial foot forward as far as his spiritual maturity. And there's multiple groups that he's been a part of to really kind of embrace his relationship with God and being very humble and modest. And so he's remained drug free. So I just feel like his mental state is very secure, very strong. And so I think the opportunity of him being released, he'll be welcomed home into a very stable, safe environment around family members that truly have loved him from from his time before his imprisonment all the way through his imprisonment and that are here joined today with him in this discussion. So he'll have a biological support, a spiritual support. Healing Place Church, I'm a member of the church. They have a very active prison community where they go into prisons and speak to inmates. We even stream our service in a lot of prison systems. And so I do feel like he'll have a tremendous amount of support if he is released. And so I thank you for the ability to be able to kind of speak on his behalf. And I just know that he has a significant spiritual support system that I know he embraces when and if he is released. And so.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We'll hear from Mr. Cornell Bush Sr.
Good morning to the parole board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak on behalf of my son, Cornell Bush Jr. I am a military retiree, and I have created a small business that I know that my son would fit right in with me. Early on in life with my son Cornell, through high school, he was attending the ROTC program. Went from there, went into the Marine Corps, and I'm already in the military, so that was a big old thumbs up for me. We make mistakes, and I can't hold. He made a mistake, but I know by his actions right now. I'm looking at all the schools that he done did, how he done rehabilitated himself with the help of the different programs. When Cornell and I would talk on the phone, I would ask him what kind of programs they got. You got to keep your mind intact, and you got to watch out for things that's going on around you, because you don't want to be a part of that. One day you want to go home, and to do that, you got to stay clean. You got to stay abreast of what's going on around you. Cornell would have a home. I don't have any problem with supporting him 100% while he's out. I know he's going to do well with the degree he have. He just got a degree with Wally College and all the other schools and at courses that he have taken. I'm just asking the board, grant him a release because he's gonna be worth it. He's gonna make you proud of him. I guarantee you that. This guy done changed 190 degrees. He didn't change that much. I'm looking at some paperwork that he had sent home where he got these different courses in the Bible. Man, I loved it. I love to see that kind of stuff. I love to hear it. And when he and I get a chance to talk, he just uplifts me, and it makes me feel bad because I should be uplifting him. He uplifts me.
Yes, sir.
Well, I didn't want to beat it to death, sir. I just wanted to thank the board for letting me say something about my son.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Miss Judith Lombardino.
Can you hear us, sir?
We can.
Okay. Good morning to the board. I have with me today Mr. Cassiope Jr., who was the victim of this crime, and also his father is here, Mr. Joseph Cassiope Sr. And Mr. Cassiope Jr. wants to make a statement to the parole board about how the events of that tragic night has affected his life and what he went through and what he's continuing to go through.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and make your comments.
My name is Joseph Cassiope. I'm the only surviving eyewitness and victim of a crime spree that resulted in a cruel, premeditated, cold-blooded execution-style murder of my fiancée, Alicia, and my about-to-be-born daughter, and the cold-blooded attempt to murder me. I oppose granting parole to Bush. Bush was supposed to be our friend. Instead, he and the two Sweeney brothers plotted to and did rob and kill Alicia in cold blood and attempted to kill me in cold blood as well. At the time of her murder, Alicia was 7 months pregnant with our daughter. But so cold-blooded, callous, and cruel is the manner in which they planned to and did carry out these crimes. It was calculated and premeditated. Bush drove from Kenner to my home in Chalmette in his car. He had at least 30, 45 minutes to think about what they were going to do and, could have turned around at any point. Alicia and I, before they arrived at our home, like I said, he could have turned around. That night, Alicia and I welcomed Bush into our home. For at least 45 minutes, Bush pretended to be our friend. Laughing, joking, sitting on the couch with us, watching TV, playing video games. Bush looked at me and Alicia in the face. When Bush looked at Alicia, he saw a black and obviously 7-month pregnant young woman. During the entire time, Bush pretended to be our friend, and he knew he had hidden a sawed-off shotgun just outside the door of our home. When Bush retrieved the shotgun, he stood between us and the door to the outside, which was the only exit and entrance to the house. He threatened to kill us if we moved, while the Sweeney brothers searched our house for money and things to steal. I still hear Alicia begging, "Please don't kill me," when they still see Wilbert shooting Alicia in the head and can hear the blast as he pulled the trigger. I can still feel and hear being shot in the back and in my leg. I can still feel the glass in the window cutting through my leg as I jumped through to save my life. I remember Alicia's blood, her brains, and my blood and the pain. I should have bled to death and would have, except for a good Samaritan. I remember being told that one of the shots missed my heart and I was lucky to be alive. I should not be alive. And if they had their way, I would have been dead too. All three planned to rob us and kill us. There was no way any of them were going to let us live, as they were looking at 99 years in prison just from armed robbery. We knew them, could identify them, and I knew where they lived. I knew where they worked. I described his car, and I have helped Bush get jobs in the past. If we lived, they were going to prison. To prevent that, they had to kill us. It doesn't matter which one killed Alicia. They were all in it together. They were all just as guilty. And Bush should serve every day he was sentenced to. Every day I live with the scars of that day, emotionally and physically. I have never married nor fathered a child. Every day I think about what they took from me, the images of that day, Alicia laying in her own blood, the thoughts, our baby girl, our daughter, never getting a chance to live, and Alicia's 3-year-old son growing up without a mother, who was sleeping upstairs when this happened. To this day, I've never recovered from my physical injuries. I still have pain where the bullet hit and damaged my sciatic nerve. I've had 2 surgeries and will likely need more to get rid of the scar tissue that keeps building up on my sciatic nerve. Every day I suffer with pain. I cannot sit more than a few hours. My feet and legs are numb, and the pain will never stop. While in court, I can still hear and see Bush laughing and smiling with the Sweeney brothers as they face first-degree murder, armed robbery, feticide, and attempted murder, as if nothing had ever happened. Throughout the legal processes, Bush never showed remorse for the lives he and his criminal partners took, or the damage he caused. He forever took away my child, fiance, and he forever took a mother away from her 3-year-old son. Bush is not supposed to be eligible for parole. Myself, my family, and Alicia's family were all told that Bush could not be paroled, that his sentence could only be reduced if he earned good time. He has already received more leniency than he deserves. Bush agreed to and was sentenced to 40 years without parole. He knew and was told by the judge when he pled guilty, he was not eligible for parole. He knew his sentence could not be reduced except by good time. Bush agreed to spend 40 years in prison. And I intend to hold him there, even if the state of Louisiana won't. I feel that the state of Louisiana has betrayed me. It cares more for the life of a criminal than it does for Alicia's life, my life, and that of my unborn daughter. The state of Louisiana has broken promises it's made to me, Alicia, our daughter, and our families. So it's up to me to remind you of what happened. So it's up to me to relive and retell the awful events of that day, no matter how traumatizing it is for me. This is the 3rd time in 4 years that Bush has sought some type of release. Each time it's ruined by Thanksgiving or Christmas for myself and my family and my friends. I get up in the morning thinking about it and go to bed thinking about it. Bush has already been given more leniency than he deserves. Parole for him is not justice for me, for Alicia, my daughter, nor our families or friends.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we'll hear from the Assistant Miss Megan Suffern.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for having us. I also have present with me the District Attorney, Perry Nikosha.
Hi, good morning. Glad to have this opportunity. And this is my first parole board hearing as the elected district attorney in St. Bernard Parish. I have an armed robbery trial going on right now, but this is a hearing I needed to be at, and I want to God bless Mr. Cassiope and everything he has said. It's what I was going to say. I do not want to say anything because what he said and how he said it, I agree with everything. This is one of the most heinous crimes I've ever read in a police report or witnessed in St. Bernard Parish. And Mr. Bush, Christopher Bush, I understand you began by saying your brother has missed time. I think about that child and Mr. Cassiope, the time that child has missed, the time that he has missed with his child, the time that he has missed with Alicia, and the time Alicia has missed and what her life could have been. This is a first-degree murder case. Of course, I was not the district attorney at that time. I've handled many, many cases as a judge and as a district attorney. This is one of the most heinous murders in St. Bernard Parish history. I wanted to personally be here. And Mr. Cassiope, again, I echo, I'm very, very sorry, sir. And I will be by your side because it was 40 years. I'm not sure what went into it. It's not something I would do today. But I think Mr. Bush understands. He pled guilty. He agreed to 40 years, and he should do his 40 years. And I will be here with you, Mr. Cassiope, every time. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, now we'll hear from Cornell Jr. If you'd like to make a statement on your behalf.
Yes, sir. 1998, that year, I co-conspired with two other men, and we were wrong. But I personally, I was part of it. And so you're right, I was sentenced on the principle. So whatever one did, we all did. And I don't agree with what he did, but it was done, and I hate that it happened. I hate that. Mr. Capaccio, he doesn't know me. He knew my fall partners. He knew them, and I was part of that. And I regret it. I really do. It's horrible. But like you said, the way I was sentenced was principle. Hey, whether you did it or not, you don't have to be the trigger man. You were part of it, and for that, I regret. I regret that I was part of something like that. I'm moving forward. I tried to move forward in prison, but the reality, I haven't read about it in so long, but the reality of it just is such a shock that I could be part of something like that. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
I recommend executive session at this time to discuss confidential matters related to this case.
We have a motion for executive session.
I second.
We have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kelsey,
Yes.
Ms. Pearl,
Yes.
Mr. Marabello.
Yes.
Right back.
I don't think so. Mr. Capsiope didn't get.
It was a 5-minute.
Now in session, was panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Ms. Pearl Wise.
Mr. Bush, your case was assigned to me, so for that reason, I'll be voting first. I do want to appreciate the victim for the strength that I know it took to be present today. That's valuable, and I just wish you well, Mr. Bush. In reviewing your record, I am just not willing to take a chance on you today. My vote is to deny. You have a strong law enforcement opposition. you have the victim's opposition. That write-up, the warden explained the circumstances. However, you did lose 60 days of good time in 2020. I would like to see that good time restored, and you back on trustee status, so I could be comfortable in letting you go. And I appreciate the family contact, family support, and I think you're gonna always have that. But today, my vote is to deny, and I wish you well, and just continue. I believe you're on the right track. Be sure and own what you did. Own it. Own your participation in the crime. That is going to really propel you forward. But my vote is to deny today for the reasons I've already stated.
All right, Mr. Marabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bush, I want to commend you for your service to our country in the military. Ms. Wise mentioned she thought maybe you might make that a career. I kind of wish you would have. We all wouldn't be here today, probably, had that been the case. I likewise would like to express my appreciation for the courage of Mr. Cassiope for testifying here today. Mr. Bush, my concerns are twofold. One is the write-up that you had, and I understand that maybe you just got it because everybody else was there as well. But that's part of responsibility, and that's part of things go. It significant, however, the thing that concerns me the most is your lack of acceptance of responsibility. You keep talking legal terms, and I'm a lawyer, I was a judge, I understand the law. You keep talking in legal terms of being a principal. Well, a principal is a person who is actively involved in the crime, not an accessory after the fact that you just kind of sat there and didn't do something. You are just as responsible as anyone else for that crime. And until you accept that, my vote would likewise always be to deny your parole. But today my vote is to deny for those reasons I've stated. You worked hard, you've done a lot, continue your work, and I encourage you to look inward to really see what you've done and what harm you have caused to everyone. So good luck to you.
Two votes to deny your parole also. I'm going to vote to deny your parole for the same reasons as stated by my colleagues. Continue to work hard to do the things you need to do. There'll be another opportunity, but today for me, it's a deny. So 3 votes to deny. Today your parole's been denied. Thank you for the victim. We'd also like to thank DA Nicosia and Ms. Suffren. Thank you guys for being part of the process.
That hearing, the way it started and the way it was going with, Miss Wise conducting the interview, I really just thought, it's not like maybe he should get off. Seems like he didn't really do anything. And then you have the victim come up and speak. And he spoke so well that even Brennan Kelsey didn't cut him off. And to think of the crime that happened in this house, the way he described it, his pregnant girlfriend or fiance, 7 months pregnant, and the guy takes a sawed-off shotgun, which he had hidden. They went there with the intention of robbing them, and he uses the shotgun on a pregnant woman. Who does that? And yeah, I get that Cornell was the one that pulled the trigger. And I do have a problem with considering everyone as the same person. I don't think it is the same. But in this case, it was like the insult to injury, the way that the entire hearing happened, having to listen to his family members and having to listen to the way that he described the case, the situation to Miss Wise. He said, So he said, I mean, the words are, so what was your role in the robbery? And he said that, well, there was a man with drugs and money, and it didn't work out. He was willing to die. He was really willing to die. Those are the words that he used at his parole hearing. Are you nuts? He's blaming the victim for what happened. Those were the words that he used. It didn't work out. He was willing to die. Like, in his mind, he's saying, we thought we'd show up with a shotgun and he would tell us where the drugs were and the money, and we would just take it and leave. But he wasn't willing to do that. So, it happened. It's like, and there's no proof that there even was anything in the house. How? I couldn't believe what I was listening to in that interview, to then hear the graphic details. And then this is, it could be that we've seen it before, but to have the actual district attorney show up, not the assistant district attorney, that might be a first. I'm not sure, but he took the time to show up, and that's refreshing to see, isn't it? He took the time to show up, and he seemed to not be okay with the plea deal that they took for the 40 years, but he says it's one of the most heinous crimes in his parish. And then, it's funny that the board, though, they put all this emphasis on his write-up. That 10 cell phone write-up, it's interesting, but I've seen another hearing with, I can't remember which one, but with someone who had the same write-up, the same story. So he was one of the 10 people. And it's like, what's the, what really? I mean, he the odds of him being the person that took the phone is 1 in 10. It's like, really, that's the reason? Because you have a write-up? It's like, how about the fact that you were one of 3 men that went into a house and blew off the head of a pregnant woman, and then tried to kill him? Those are your friends? And then at the parole hearing, you say, you drag him through the mud. You say he was willing to die for it. I don't understand that. And it seems he comes from a good family, military family, goes through school, 4 years in the Marines. What a waste. No drugs were found. I was taking a chance. I was living on the edge. Yeah, you're living on the edge. You're taking a chance. What are you talking? You don't take a sawed-off shotgun to a dealer's house and call it living on the edge when the result is killing a woman and her unborn child. Living on the edge. But I think the board was right when they said, hey, you just gotta own it. But to hear the victims speak out, and you heard them mention as well that 3 times, I think that he had, because he was filing a commutation hearing, and then Act 122 passed, Act 122, which the Parole Project lobbied legislation to pass, gives everyone who's served, I believe it's more than 20 years and above the age of think it's 40, the opportunity of parole. And that's the bucket that he falls under. I don't have any, because he took the plea deal. There are no appeals on this. We don't have any court records, but thank you, Richard, for pointing this case out. It was intense. Well, we'll do one more.
Felony offender. Offenses: armed robbery, manslaughter. Sentencing date: February 12, 2001. Sentenced to a total of 50 years. Parole date is August 1st, 2021. Good time, January 23rd, 2043. Full term, June 21st, 2050. Is this information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. Marabella.
Thank you very much. Mr. Walker, my name is Tony Marabella. Your case has been assigned to me as a member of the panel, so I'll be the one initially asking you some questions. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Walker, how old are you, sir?
48.
I'm sorry?
48.
48 years old. How long have you been in prison on these charges?
20 years.
Mr. Walker, I want to ask you to explain to me, if you can, what you did and why you did it.
I was involved in manslaughter charge, murder charge, and
let's back up a little bit. You were originally charged with murder.
yes, sir.
Manslaughter may have ultimately been the result, but let's talk about the murder. Tell me what your role was and what you did.
My role was I was just in the car with the other occupants and rode with those guys.
So you're telling me you didn't know y'all were going to rob somebody?
I didn't
You
know.
were just an innocent passenger?
I was in the car after the fact.
What do you mean after the fact?
I didn't know anything had happened until when they pulled over and took the body out the trunk of the car.
You were charged with first-degree murder.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a result of a plea agreement wherein the family agreed to allow you to plead guilty to a lesser charge, you pled guilty to manslaughter.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir.
And you understood at that time you would not be eligible for parole for many, many years. To be exact, 20,043. Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir.
So don't tell me you were just a bystander. Your position is you didn't have anything to do with this. That's going to be your story today. That's all right. If that's what you're going to tell me. I have a report. I understand what happened. But if that's your story, if that's what you're going to tell me, tell me. You want to tell me what your role really was, or is that what you're going to tell me?
Sir, I'm sorry of what happened. I was young.
I understand all of that. I want you to tell me what your role was, because what you're claiming doesn't make you guilty of murder. You don't want to tell me what your role was? That's all right. This is all about honesty. I'm trying to judge you today for who you are, not necessarily who you were when you committed this crime. So that's the reason for my questions. If you don't want to tell me, that's your choice.
I am being very honest with you, sir.
All right. Tell me what you've done while you've been in prison. Tell me what sort of programs have you taken?
I've taken anger management. I've taken quite a bit of Christian programs.
All right. Tell me about what do you believe to be the most important thing that you've learned while you've been in prison?
Not to follow in directions of the wrong things.
Okay, so we're blaming somebody else for what you did, is what I'm hearing. I mean, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. So what have you learned? What have you learned about you? And what have you learned about what you've done to a family who grieves from what you've done? Tell me what you've learned about those things.
I have learned to accept responsibilities for the things that we do and the choices that we make in life that may hurt other people as well as my family.
I hear you talking to me in general terms. I want to hear what you have learned and reflected on about what you specifically did and how it affects specifically the family that you have caused so much pain for. What have you learned about that? You know, one of the things I need to determine is, are you a different person than you were before? Am I going to vote to let you out early? Or am I concerned that you're going to go out, haven't learned anything, and maybe go do the same thing again? So tell me what you've learned or how you feel about the people you've harmed.
I am very remorseful.
I hear those words. What does that mean to you? I mean, you say you're very remorseful, but you also told me, well, you were just in the car and you didn't have anything to do with the killing.
I have hurt as well as the family, the victim's family hurt. And
you have hurt. So we're talking about what this has done to you. So you're hurting. I accept that. You're in prison. Let's talk about your time in prison. Your record reflects that you've lost 243 days of good time. Why is that? What did you do to lose the good time?
I had a few write-ups for work offense, few contraband charges early on.
Okay, let's talk about early on. On July the 30th, you had a contraband charge. On July 30th of 2020, you had a contraband charge. February 24th of 2020, you had an aggravated work offense. May, June of 2019, you had 5 different charges: contraband, intoxication, aggravated work offense, 3 aggravated disobedience, and defiance. Tell me about those. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're not, sir.
Okay, well, tell me about those.
The contraband charge, I was working as an auditor at TU, extended lockdown cell block.
But just tell me what you had.
I had some mojo.
Mojo, marijuana, synthetic marijuana.
Yes, sir.
In prison. right?
Yes, sir.
And when did you take these classes that taught you responsibility?
In the earlier parts of like 2000.
Before all of your disobedience and contraband and intoxication and mojo,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Now, my records reflect that you've had 61 write-ups. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a drug or alcohol problem?
No, sir.
You never had drug problem? You never took any kind of drugs?
I've tried.
When did you try them? I mean, you're taking mojo in prison. So what did you try on the outside?
I didn't do drugs on the outside, sir.
So all your drug use has been inside.
Yes, sir.
How about alcohol?
Don't drink.
Don't drink. Okay. How much education do you have? Did you get your GED?
No, sir.
I'm sorry?
No, sir.
Why not?
Backlog list was long.
What kind of work have you done while you've been in prison?
Did some little construction work.
How many times were you on supervision before you came to prison? You've ever been on probation or parole before?
On probation once.
And was that revoked?
Yes, sir.
Why?
When I got arrested for this
What were you on probation for?
drug charge.
Drug charge.
Yes, sir.
What kind of drug charge?
Distribution.
Ah, you were selling drugs.
Yes, sir.
So you sell drugs, you sold drugs, but you didn't use drugs.
Right.
Why didn't you use them?
Was my preference.
What did your selling drugs do to the people that were taking those drugs?
It hurt.
And when did you learn that?
Since I've been locked up, sir.
You didn't realize that before? You didn't realize that selling drugs to people was going to hurt them?
No, sir.
Mr. Walker, you have pretty much uniform law enforcement objection to your release. There's nothing you can do about that, but you need to know about that. You certainly have a lot of family of the victim opposition. Nothing you can do about that. But you need to know that. Is there any, Warden, is there anything you can tell us about Mr. Walker?
Yeah, Mr. Marabello, good morning. We did have a long conversation the other day with Frederick about his history, and that, you know, as you can clearly see, he spent a lot of time in the cell block in Angola, so he didn't really complete anything that he needed to complete. He does have a history of substance abuse issues, and we talk about that. I don't know why he's saying today that he didn't, but he does need some substance abuse programming. He hasn't had any. He has done, you know, he's only been here. He got his last write up in July of this year. That was Angola, as you mentioned, for narcotics. But since he's been here, he came here shortly afterwards. He hasn't had any disciplinary infractions, and we have a lot of programs we have things we can get him into to help him. But I think he needs that. I don't know that I can say that he's prepared to return to society right now, looking at his conduct record and his you know, his lack of wanting to take responsibility for his actions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. Mr. Chairman, that's all the questions that I have.
Okay. Now we'll hear from Ms. Tasha.
Hi, good morning. Speaking in support for my brother's release, I think after over 20 years of being incarcerated, he has definitely learned a lesson. Our family is definitely remorseful to the victim's family. We cannot bring that person back. However, our prayers has been with the family the entire time. This has not only caused a state of depression to the victim's family, but also to Frederick's family. We miss and love and care for him, and we're sure that if released, that he will be able to give back to the community, and be a model citizen with some support as well as some reinforcement.
Thank you. We'll hear from Miss Audrey.
Good morning. I'm Frederick's mother. My heart goes out to the victim's family. My prayers has been and still is with them. I'm praying to God that my son can get released and come back home. I know whatever we say, we cannot bring their loved one back. But I'm just praying to God that y'all release my son.
Thank you, Ms. All right, now we'll hear from Miss Allison.
Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak today. My name is Allison Brisson, maiden name Tibergen. I'm the sister of the white man, the victim, Daniel Charles Tibergen. I'm speaking on behalf of my family today, those who are listening in, those who aren't, and those who can no longer be with us. I'm speaking to oppose the release of Mr. Walker, as the amount of time currently served is not enough for what he did to my brother and has put our family through. Mr. Walker did not just participate in the murder of Danny, he participated in torturing him in his own home, putting him in the trunk of his own car and dumping him with a final gunshot. All of this after being welcomed as a friend for movies, popcorn, and soda. Let's just say hearing of his death was horrible. Hearing piece by piece the many ways he was tortured and eventually lost his life has caused nightmares to this day. Reading the statements and confessions given from the incident makes me sick. After leaving his body, participating in taking my brother's car around with his money, credit cards, and going on a shopping spree, Mr. Walker did not just help take Danny from us, his loving family, of which he's missed the births of 8 new family members and 2 more on the way. He took him from his teaching, denied thousands of young students from getting the opportunity to have him as a mentor, teacher, and director. His passion of teaching and the theater moved so many, and that was cut way too short. I'm here begging the board to deny his parole. Mr. Walker was gifted a plea of 50 years. The fact that this law has enabled him to apply for parole after just 20 is another hit to our family. We didn't think we would even have to consider this for another 20 years, which I would still oppose. He should serve every minute of that sentence. My brother is serving the sentence Mr. Walker took part in handing him and doesn't get any of that life back. Thank you for letting me speak today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Ms. Catherine.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dr. Catherine Tibergen. I am a licensed physician, but today I am asking the board to prevent a disease being released upon the public, namely Frederick Walker. Danny Tibergen was my brother and one of the funniest people I knew. You will and have heard from others about his generous character, his goodness, his kindness, his love of teaching. But in April 1998, 3 men cruelly and painstakingly ended his life. The description of what they did to him over the course of hours calls to mind nothing short of sadism. This wasn't the heat of the moment. This was cold-blooded and deliberate. Anyone who could perpetrate such a crime does not deserve to walk free, ever. There isn't enough therapy in the world to treat the type of monster Frederick Walker and his buddies are. All three killers were given a plea deal instead of a trial that likely would have ended in the death penalty, in part because Danny's mother didn't want their mothers to go through what she did. That is gift enough. No more bargains. While he realized the pandemic has tested the limits of the justice system, it is injustice itself to allow parole, however restricted, to Frederick Walker. The biggest question is, do we want this sadist walking the streets, possibly the same as our loved ones? His prison records indicate multiple infractions. How long until those violent tendencies crop up again? Are we willing to be responsible for when they do? Distinguished members of the board, please deny this parole. Keep the public safe and don't let anyone else suffer at this monster's hands. He spoke about taking responsibility. Spending the rest of his life in prison is how he does that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Page. You're on mute, Ms. Page.
Thank you so much for your time. Danny Tibergen was the heart of our school, the Episcopal School of Baton Rouge. He was my best friend. 1,500 people attended Danny's funeral at our school because one night, a new friend of Danny's, whom he had chosen to help, which Danny did, Danny had bought him clothes and food. Well, this friend called Danny up, and Danny picked those 3 people up. He welcomed them into his home. He served popcorn, Cokes, they watched movies. He didn't know the night that he willingly and lovingly served his murderers, that as soon as the killers got the chance, they would jump him. They beat him so badly that he swallowed his teeth. They strangled him with his own belt. They cracked a 2-foot tall glass jar over his head. We know for a fact that Danny begged for his life, but the killers had decided weeks before that he wasn't going to live that night. That dear man, that teacher who cared and saved so many, was drugged out of his house, thrown into the trunk of his own car, and driven across the river, where they shot him next to railroad tracks and left him to rot. Children at Episcopal know Danny from the stories that we tell of his love and his compassion, and we refuse for his life to have been led in vain. The door knocker from Danny's front door is mounted outside our theater for each child entering to hit in Danny's honor. This knocker hung on the same door that the killers used to drag his beaten and broken body from his home. Hitting that door knocker, that's all the memories we have. That's the only way we can remind ourselves of the kindness that Danny stood for. His life mattered. The decisions made and carried out on that night to take this beautiful person from all of us didn't have to happen. As the oldest in the group, Mr. Walker, he knew better, but he didn't stop any of it. He showed no mercy. Yet he had judgment and insight only a month ago to save himself for this parole hearing by completing 11 courses in one day to win this good behavior. This person with no remorse or understanding of his actions or care except for himself should not walk free to do this again to another innocent person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we'll hear from Ms. Barbera.
Good morning. So much has been said that I don't need to repeat. I will just simply state that this offender's DOC record standing alone does not support parole release, but his comments this morning, his dishonesty about his involvement in this horrible crime, and his dishonesty about his own personal issues with narcotics abuse, substance abuse, the fact that he has not received any type of treatment, that coupled with the warden's comments, it just reinforces the need to protect our society and deny this individual's parole this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Walker, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Like to say, as I said, I'm very remorseful to the family that what happened, and if I could bring him back, I would. We wouldn't be sitting here today. And as much as my conduct record may show that I am a changed person, I have a great deal of hurt in my heart, and I've worked on that I like to say that, man, it's a lot of those things that said, that's not the guy that they may see on the screen right now. And it really hurt hearing those things. But like I said, if I can do anything, then we wouldn't be here right now because of the incident that happened.
All right, thank you. All right, is the panel prepared to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Marabella?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Walker, as a member of this panel, we deal with horrible cases all the time. And this case is right up there with the most horrible cases that we have ever had. And as difficult as it is for me to separate that from the person who's before me, I've always tried my very best to look at the facts of the case as a set of facts that occurred a while back and maybe by a different person. So that's a factor that we take into account. But to me, that one factor isn't controlling. I try to look at who you are and what you've become. And oftentimes, it's very difficult for me to make that decision because I see the pain that the family members have suffered. And I try to judge, or I try to look at the person who's before me today. And if that person, in my opinion, has rehabilitated himself, I know what my vote to let that person out early does to that family. I don't have that problem today because there's no way in this world that I can vote to release you. You have not accepted responsibility for what you did. It's all about you. You have lied from the very get-go today, including your substance abuse. Every time the question was asked to you about the family or what you've done, it's always, I'm hurting. I'm hurting. It's all about you. Your disciplinary record is horrible. You have taken very few courses to improve yourself. You have absolute opposition to your release, and you certainly have not served enough time on a 50-year sentence. You were given a tremendous opportunity to serve 50 years and perhaps parole out at some point while you still had some life yet, as opposed to facing the death penalty. The family agreed to do that for you. So for all of those reasons, my vote today is to deny you. Good luck to you.
Ms. Wise.
Mr. Walker, to the victim's family here, I just appreciate your courage for participating in the process and just thank you all for being here. I know this was not easy. Mr. Walker, I concur with my colleague. My vote is to deny. You have poor supervision history. As you stated, you were on supervision when you committed this offense. You have law enforcement opposition. You have victim opposition. And let me encourage you to see what you can do to take victim awareness and get involved in the high set program and get involved in substance abuse because chances are you'll be up for a rehearing. Chances are. So I encourage you to be better prepared. That is my vote.
All right, you have 2 votes to deny, so I'm going to vote to deny your parole today for the same reasons as stated, law enforcement opposition, victim opposition, your inability to really show true remorse and take responsibility for the crime. We have 3 votes to deny your parole. Your parole's been denied. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll unpack this by going into the details, but first, just to digest that a little bit. That was, man, the victim's family all spoke so well, so expertly, if you will, just like every part of it, the words they chose to use, their delivery, and then, to the point where Tracy, my favorite DA, she didn't even need to say much because it was already covered. And it's just great to see her show up, as she so often does to these hearings, that took place back in 2021. It is scary to think that he's going to, of course, continue to be able to reapply. I don't know how many years he can keep reapplying, but the idea that he's going to be putting the family through this for the next 20 years is just disturbing. And that's all part of Act 122. It's an act which the Parole Project lobbied, because having it go through allowed them to get more clients, as they call them, and generate money. And Act 122 made it so that anyone who had served more than 20 years in their sentence, and I believe is above the age of 40, can now apply for parole. They don't need to wait for the whole sentence that they agreed on. And the laws are strange. I mean, it's a wonderful legislation if you're talking about someone who's a nonviolent criminal who got, an habitual life sentence, and it's ridiculous. But when you pass through all these a crime like this, it's just, and with Mr. Marabella, he came in. You knew that they researched it. They had the paperwork. They had his record. They knew at the bat there was no way he was going to get paroled. And Mr. Marabella, just from the get-go, was at him. And then he had the mic drop moment at the end there, where he goes on. He says one of Marabella's epic monologues, and he's stating that it's so difficult because to do this, because if you've changed and who's in front of me now, and to have to see the family and the victims, and it's very difficult. But in this case, it's not difficult. This is easy. And it really was. I mean, even his final speech, I'm sorry for the incident that happened. Yeah, you're sorry for the incident that happened. Okay. Because it just happened, right? Thank you, Richard, for finding this information. He dug it up out of the black hole of the internet. There's my dryer again. Wants to sing me a song. Okay. O'Neill said when he arrived, and so he had a lot of co-defendants, and they were pointing the finger at one another. He said after the killing, the 3 took. Miss O'Neill said when, I don't pronounce his name, arrived, Burris and Walker were there, as well as the 4 returned to his home, she said. Walker's who we just watched, of course. They watched a movie, ate popcorn, and drank soft drinks, she said. At some point, Burris and Walker asked him to give them a tour of his home. And so he was, a teacher, really just looking to just, give back to the community, I think, and just be like but once they were in a bedroom on the first floor of the 2-story house, one of the 3 jumped him and strangled him with a belt until it snapped. He was begging for his life, telling them to take what they wanted, and they kept saying, "Where's the she said?" One of the 3 then grabbed, I don't know what that means, but One of the three then grabbed a pickle jar. This is I'll put the link. This is from a newspaper that was written. One of the three that not the appeal, because there was no court, right? So this is just from a newspaper. One of the three grabbed a pickle jar and beat him over the head with it. And I don't know who Miss O'Neill is. I'm sorry. Miss O'Neill said, but he was still alive when they wrapped his body in an episcopal blanket, dragged him to his car, and locked him in the trunk. The three then drove to Jeff's apartment, where he had stashed a rifle he had gotten specifically for the killing. Why? I don't understand why. Like, it hasn't even been explained why. Jeff climbed into a bedroom window of his own apartment. Because he didn't want any Baton Rouge 3 men in. I don't understand what this is saying. He got spoofed for the killing. Jeff climbed into the bedroom window of his own apartment because he didn't want any Baton Rouge AP. I don't know. 3 men indicted in the murder of Episcopal high school teacher bought pizza and shoes with the victim's money during a shopping spree after the April killing, a prosecutor said. Daniel was strangled with a belt so hard that it snapped and was beaten over the head with a pickle jar. I know now it's being redundant, but I guess this is newspaper writing for you. He was taken across the Mississippi River and shot in the face, prosecutor Brenda O'Neill said. One of the accused killers, Mark Anthony Jeff, plotted to rob and kill him after the two became friends. It's just crazy. Miss O'Neill said Jeff, 22, enlisted in the help of George, coming 17. Okay. 17, and Frederick James Walker, 24. She said neither of them knew him before the killing. All three were indicted Thursday on first-degree charges, they faced death by injection or life in prison if convicted. Jeff, who had known him for a few months, called the night of the killing and asked to pick him up at the apartment. Jeff did not own a car, money, credit cards, and wallet, she said. They went on a shopping spree after. I don't know why this wordage is all jumbled. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, just because you're a newspaper, you have to. I think that what this is it's a bunch of clips from different newspapers about this case. They bought $72 worth of pizza. Each bought clothes and boxes of shoes. They love shoes. You know, the idea that they did all of this for a pair of shoes and some pizza, it's just madness. It's just complete madness. How is that possible? It's also madness that he has a chance of parole and can keep on applying. And you heard it. You heard it from the family. You heard it from the DA. You saw it from the perpetrator. It is terrifying. The system is broken. I don't have much to say more than that. Thank you, Richard, for the research. You know, it could be this is the man who's going to spend all of his time locked up, not get out early, but you never know. But with that, I'll let you go.